As leaders, we want to create influence. We want to be influential out there in the world. But we've got to have a process that allows us to get really clear and be really intentional. And if entrepreneurs and these thought leaders can get clear on what they stand for and really understand the power of their own message and their own story, then with that, they can go out and start creating powerful influence. My name is Chris Smith. I am a cowboy, a speaker, a brand strategist, a story expert, and I love teaching leadership teams and organizations how to create viral influence on behalf of their brand. I'm also a 5th generation Arizona native, so I grew up in a ranching rodeo family. And I was raised around cowboy storytellers, and as such, I've been fascinated with storytelling ever since I was little, because I believe that storytelling is one of the most powerful things that we have to really create influence in the world. I work with entrepreneurs and thought leaders across multiple industries, but the thing that we get most excited about is entrepreneurs and thought leaders who are really up to something in the world. They're out to make a big impact, and they have a purpose behind why they're doing what they're doing. And the clients that we work the best with are in what I call the gap. And the gap represents the difference between how good you are at what you do and yet the power in which you're creating influence around it. And so I meet so many entrepreneurs and thought leaders that know that they are the best in their industry. They know they're best at what they do, but yet they know that the way they're talking about what they do and the influence they're creating behind it isn't as powerful as what they actually do in the world. And it's painful for them. The reason I think it's so critical that leaders are intentional about their influence is because they're creating influence whether they know it or not. How they show up, how they interact, the message that they put out into the world in their marketing, their branding, the story they tell to their employees, the culture they're building, like all of that is creating influence. Unfortunately, far too few leaders are really intentional about that influence they create. And so when you're intentional about the influence you create in the world, and especially in your organization as an entrepreneur, as a thought leader, you really can have people show up for you in a way that's powerful. And you start to show up in a way that's more powerful, and people have a more powerful experience of you. But you've got to be intentional about the influence, and you've got to recognize that you are creating influence in everything you do. The story that you tell, your own personal brand as a leader. All of that is creating influence, but is it creating influence that's aligned with how you want to show up as a leader? So when leaders in organizations are unintentional about the influence they're creating, there's a severe cost. And it starts first and foremost with the employees and the culture. And so, you're never going to provide a client or customer experience that's better than the experience you provide to your own people. And we miss that a lot of times. A lot of organizations, a lot of leaders want to focus, it's all about the customer, it's all about the client, because that's where we generate revenue. But we fail to recognize that our employees, our team, they are the ones delivering the client and the customer experience. And so by not being intentional first and foremost about the experience we're providing our own people and about the culture we're building, there's a massive cost because of those disengaged employees. They're providing an experience to the clients and customers that matches or mirrors the experience they're having inside the organization, right? So the other cost I see is that when we're not intentional about the influence we're creating, it's really easy for us to get really laxed about our messaging and about the story that we're telling and about the brand that we're putting out there into the world. What I'm most well known for is creating a proprietary methodology called the Campfire Effect. And the Campfire Effect is a framework that we designed to help entrepreneurs and thought leaders tell their story in a way that's as powerful as what they actually do in the world. And we've had amazing results. And so we had clients that would leave and they would go and write books start to finish in 3 weeks. They would go and transform the culture of their entire organization within 3 months. They would rebrand their entire marketing, branding, and website in 60 days and have been trying to do it for 2 years. The other thing that really inspires me is that a lot of the clients that come and work with us said, hey Chris, as a result of getting really, really clear on how I influence in the world and how I show up, it's actually changed my marriage. It's changed my relationship with my kids. I've taken this ability to really create powerful influence in my life, and I've applied it to every area of my life. And so the Campfire Effect and this idea of gaining that clarity is part of a much bigger vision that I have that a lot of people don't really know about. And it's this idea of not just getting clear on your brand and your story, but then taking that clarity and going out and creating what I call viral influence in the world. As a leader, you are creating influence. Are you intentionally clear about it? Or is it just happening